How would you like to have 75% of your revenue guaranteed? You know exactly what's coming in next month and the month after and the month after. No more sleepless nights, no more running around like crazy to do a sale, do an event, get people in the store. You have peace of mind knowing the money is coming in. Well, if you would love that, then I think you're going to love this episode of Rooted in Retail, where I am joined with Sarah Williams, the subscription box queen. We are talking all about subscription boxes. And honestly, I am so inspired from this conversation that it makes me want to go launch a subscription box right now. You'll hear in this episode how I've actually wanted to do that in the past. And so I feel very inspired, but I feel so excited for our retailers because you have some of the components already laid out, done for you to get you launching even faster than somebody else, which Sarah addresses today. So this can be a really great new revenue stream for you. Listen to this episode, even if you're like, nope, I'm never going to do a subscription box in my store. Don't care. I think you still really need to listen to it. I want you to open your mind, and I just want you to hear from Sarah what she's built. She started as a brick and mortar and the potential. I think it's important for us to learn. Sarah also said, if you're not hybrid, you're behind. And I couldn't agree more. It's so critical for us to show up where our customers' time and attention is being spent. And it is in person and it is online. And doing subscription boxes is a really cool way to be hybrid. Here's a little bit more about my guest. Sarah Williams, the subscription box queen, is a powerhouse entrepreneur, coach, and best-selling author. Sarah propels businesses to new heights, sharing her proven strategies in her acclaimed book, One Box at a Time, published by Hay House. Unlike typical coaches, Sarah doesn't just teach. She actively manages her thriving subscription box business, offering real-world insights. You can learn more about her community at launchyourbox.com, where you'll unlock the secrets of sustainable, profitable ventures. Sarah's a dynamic force reshaping the entrepreneurial landscape, one subscription box at a time. And I am so thrilled she is here on the show. So let's dive in. I have to interrupt real quick before we get into this episode because Sarah is going to be keynoting at Evolve 2025. So when we filmed this episode, we didn't know that yet. But as I was listening to Sarah, I'm like, oh my gosh, she needs to be at Evolve. Even if you never add a subscription box to your store, you are a product-based business, and the things that Sarah has done to grow her business can help you sell more product. She also has an incredible story of evolution, and being that we are called Evolve, I was like, Sarah, I just really need you on the stage. Would you come speak? And she said, heck yes. So her topic is scale your sales with subscriptions, unlock the power of recurring revenue. I can't wait for you to hear from her in person. It's going to be a dynamite session. I'm so happy to have her on the Evolve main stage. So I'll see you there. Okay, now we'll officially dive into the episode. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Sarah, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a really great conversation. Like I just said to you offline, I think there's a lot of opportunity with subscription boxes. I have felt this way for many years. So I'm very excited for us to learn from you. Before we dive in, as I was preparing for this call, because we're new to each other's worlds, I was researching you and learning more about you. And you so have a story of resilience. You were a brick and mortar store working, like it was you wore all the hats. You had some flooding problems personally with your home. I mean, like, and then you rise up and create this amazing company. So will you take a few minutes and just share with us more about you and your retail journey?
Yeah, so I had worked in corporate America since graduating from college and never really had the entrepreneur bug at all until I went to work for an entrepreneur. And I was basically running the business for her. And that gave me this little like, oh, this is what this is like. Oh, this is the freedoms that you have. Oh, okay. I'm doing this for you and I'm doing this well. Why am I not doing this for myself? So that was kind of the little spark that I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. I didn't have anyone that owned their own business in my family. So I really didn't see that lifestyle or that, I really didn't have that interest for a long time. So after I decided to leave her, I started my own business. That was 2013. So, and I was just, it was me. Like, like so many people, it was just me. I was all the things. I was making things at that point. So I was my journey started with painting. I had been teaching painting classes for this other entrepreneur, and managing the studio and all the things. And then she started to step back from it quite a bit. And I started to step forward. I was designing, I was creating the artwork. So I was really all in with her business. And that's when I decided, well, I should really be doing this for myself and not for someone else. So I started my business and it took off like crazy. I was painting a lot of one offs for people. I called myself like someone's personal Pinterest board. Like if you
Oh,
found it on Pinterest, I could make it for you. And that was like, I think about now versus then. And I think, God, I worked so hard for $40. Like I worked so hard for $40. And we don't understand it when we first start out, but we're willing to do anything to make money. I was doing
yep.
it all from my home. And then I purchased a booth at a local show and I made $5,000 in the weekend. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. And
Yep.
so shortly after that, I opened my first brick and mortar, little tiny shop in a little shopping center, 600 square feet. That first Christmas that I had a line wrapped around my building. People couldn't, there's no room for people to even shop. I was like, this
Oh,
is insanity. I need a bigger place. That next summer, I moved into a 5,000 square foot store.
wow.
And that's where things just kind of exploded. I turned into a gift shop. So I was making the things and now I started personalizing the things. So there was really this gap in my local town of you couldn't get things personalized. And I love a good monogram. I love a good initial on something. I want to see my name all over something. And that was really the height of the Yeti cups. So they were
Mm.
all silver back then. So everyone's looked the same. So you had to put your initials on it to know if it was yours or your spouse's or your kids or whatever. And that's really what happened for me. That kind of exploded. I started embroidery. I started to do laser engraving. I started doing all these ways that I could personalize things. And then I started to carry all of this product in my shop so they could come in. They didn't have to go buy the cup somewhere and then bring it to me. They could buy it in my shop. They could buy items in my shop. We would personalize them within a day or so. And that's kind of how the brick and mortar really exploded. And I was doing well. I was doing multiple six figures in the brick and mortar store in a town of about 100,000 people. And I was
Okay.
pretty content with that. It was really great.
Yeah. Okay. And then
And
I feel
then,
like, yeah. And then what happened? How did you get
so
here?
I had been following this shop on Instagram that had a personalized subscription box. And, I'm a personalized junkie, right? Like, this is my
Right.
business. So I was following them and I was like, God, this is so cool. And I remember them showing a picture of loading their post office, truck. And it was just full of subscriptions. And I was like, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could do this. And I'm reading their comments every month, and people are unhappy with the quality of their stuff. It's really cheap stuff. I thought I could do this and I could do this better. And I could do it for my customer. In my mind, it was my local customer, right? The one that would see me on Facebook Live selling things. They'd come into the store a week later and be like, oh, I saw that. And I'd be like, oh, I'm sold out of that. And I kept feeling like I was disappointing people. And I thought, how could I take that customer that comes into my shop probably about once a month, buy something for someone else, maybe buy something for themselves, and treat them like the VIP of my business? I would always like, they would be first access. They would have the exclusive items like this. I want to treat them like the VIP. And so I started the subscription box and I really had no idea of what I was doing or how to do it. I had never even sold anything online before. I had never shipped anything. Like all that I was doing was local. And so I had to figure all the logistics out with it. So now I've got to get this online because the only way I could take reoccurring payments was if they signed up online. So now I had to get this website built. I had to figure out shipping. I had to figure all this out. And I really didn't know what to expect. But I wanted this to be a mystery because I wanted it to feel like a gift,
Mm.
like they were surprised when they open it. So now I'm like launching this thing with a plain white box as my graphic, just saying, hey, sign up for my subscription box. It was probably the worst launch in history of all launches. I know so much more now, but I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to do this. To my surprise, I had 44 people sign up that very first month. And once I did the box reveal, I had planned for 50. once I did the box reveal, those other 6 sold out in like 5 minutes, and
Wow.
then they were asking me for more. So I started a wait list and I started growing, and every month I was adding in 25 to 40 more subscribers, and this was just month after month, and here I am 9 months later and I have 300 subscribers, and I am like, holy cow, this is a thing. Like, this
Yeah.
is a whole thing. And now what's happening is, and they're all local at this point. They're mostly
Okay.
local, some like in the small towns that surround me, but they know me from somewhere. And what's happening is they're picking up because they don't want to pay the $10 shipping. So
Mm,
I'm getting all this foot traffic inside my brick and mortar store every single month. They're coming in, they're grabbing their subscription box, they're looking around, they're picking up a graphic tee, a pair of earrings, a gift for somebody else. And on pickup days, we would have to extra staff the shop because we would have hundreds of people coming in that,
yeah.
we had a couple people every day that came by and shopped. It was great. But now we had hundreds of people. We had lines at the checkout. Like, it became a whole thing. And then the 300 turned into 700, and the 700 turned into 1,000, and the 1,000 turned into 3,000. And
Whoa.
here we are.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And Sarah, do you still have the brick and mortar?
So I kind of have this hybrid. I call it kind of
Okay.
my hybrid brick and mortar. I have a large warehouse now, and I have made the front of the warehouse. It has glass windows at the front, so I've made the front of the warehouse like a faux boutique. So they can
Smart.
kind of see one of everything, but it's all kind of behind the warehouse doors.
Yeah.
Because I do still have the pickups. I have hundreds of pickups, and
Wow.
so they can come in, they can shop, they could try something on, and we have it, but I don't have to stock all the inventory in a pretty merchandise way like I did in the brick and mortar. I just kind of have ones of everything on mannequins and tables and displays so they could shop, but we'll grab it for you behind the wall, basically, because it's on our stock shelves.
Okay. So cool. This is such a great story of just evolving, like listening to customers, following the curiosity, figuring it out. I think so many of us will just hold ourselves back because we don't know the
Yeah.
details. I don't know how to do reoccurring. I don't know how to launch it, but you did just step by step. And that's how we figure it out. You just got to jump into action. And then through everything that you've been learning and running this business, you also now teach it, right?
Yes.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
which is so cool.
So a few years ago, I guess it was 2019, in the summer, and I'm blowing up. Like 2018, I'm blowing up. I started the subscription in 2017. I'm now blowing up in 2018. I'm literally just trying to catch up to myself. I'm having to hire for the first time ever. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm behind the embroidery machine 10 days out of the month because nobody else knows how to run an embroidery machine. Like, it is crazy pants. I'm packing, I'm shipping, I'm embroidering, I'm dealing with customer service messages, I'm dealing with bounce payments and updating cards. Like, I'm doing all the things, and I have a few people helping me at this point. But people are watching and they're seeing this explosion, and my DMs are filling up. Hey, where do you buy your packaging? Hey, how do you source from overseas? Hey, how did you do this? Can you help me? And I had one person that I had been constantly talking to that I had never met before, but just through, the communication, I like to help people. So that was my nature. I just didn't have a lot of time for it, because I was doing all the jobs. And so she said, can I hire you to help me launch my subscription box this summer? And I was like, hire me. I'll just help you. What are you talking about? She's like, no, I want to pay for your time. I'm like, I don't even know what my time's worth. Like, I'm probably worth $2 an hour as many jobs as I'm doing right now. And so it was such a minimal fee that I charged her. And in 3 months, we launched her subscription box. She sold out on her first launch. And
Wow.
that was the bug for me. I
Yep.
was like this proud mom. And it just was so fulfilling for me to see her win in that capacity and to know that I helped her. And so that fall, I launched my program called Launch Your Box. And I started coaching and teaching, and I built a whole library of classes. I teach live once a week inside our group. I've taught over 7,000 students now.
Wow. Awesome.
And so it's been another great source of recurring revenue for me. And I still have
Yeah.
my subscription box. It's thriving. We're growing. We just launched last week, and filled our spots up. So, things are really going well.
Okay, congratulations, first of all. So inspiring. And I just have to say, I have two subscription box ideas that I have like massive spreadsheets on from years ago. And then I didn't do anything with it. So when I am ready, I know exactly who I'm going to
Yes.
be learning from. It is time to think differently about retail and about your store. And it's really important that we're thinking differently about customers and what's going on in the world because let's face it, things are changing quickly. And if we're not evolving, we are being left behind. That is exactly why I created the conference Evolve. And I would love to see you in the room April 4th and 5th in Denver, Colorado. And just by being a listener of the show, you can save $200 on tickets. You can go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve and use the code ROOTED to save 200. That's ROOTED to save 200. Now, here's the deal. This agenda is fire. You can see the speakers on that page, but we're talking about all aspects of retail, new ideas for your store, things that you can add in to create revenue streams where you're making money in your sleep. Would you like that? I bet you would. I'm so excited for that topic. We're talking about marketing, social media, how to build a strong foundation. We're talking about money and profits. We're talking about exit strategies in case you are planning an exit. We are covering so many aspects of retail at Evolve that you're not going to want to miss this content. It's going to help you be a better business owner. Plus, you get to connect with all the other retailers that are going to be in the room and the retail pros that we're bringing in. So get your tickets. There's a solid chance we're going to sell out. And the longer you wait, the prices will be going up. So get your tickets today. And I can't wait to see you there. And then I am curious, do you know, was there like one specific thing or a couple of top things that catapulted that growth for you? Like, where do you think, what was that?
So I had this kind of cult like following locally anyway. I was very active in our community in a volunteer type of way. And I was going to shows and events around town all the time. So I was out there and I had a really great following. So my initial base of customers were local. I really struggled to figure out how to get an online presence in the way that I had a local presence. And so that was really the challenge for me. And once I figured it out, that's when things kind of exploded. And so there was also this need to create urgency and not be available all the time. So when I hit like those 300 subscribers, I started to kind of plateau a little bit. And so there was a period, and then I was like, I was all, tooting my own horn. Oh, I'm gonna add 1,000. I'm gonna add 100 more next month, and I'm gonna add 50 more the next month. And now I'm sitting on a whole bunch of product that I'm not selling because I got a big head about it. And I was really just pushing my growth because I had gone through so many months of sold out, sold out, sold out. I thought, oh, I'm gonna just grow this thing heavily. Now I have all this product staring at me in my face. I thought, okay, I have to do something different. And this is what took me to from 300 to 700 in a week. Okay. And
Wow.
so I launched I'm closing cart. It was a launch saying that I got to close this up. I got to figure out my numbers. And that was really true. I'm sourcing from overseas at this point, and I got to buy months in advance. And I'm just like throwing a dart at the dartboard on like what number I needed for that month because I had no clue at this point. I didn't have enough data. Things that I thought were happening then weren't happening. And I needed to figure this out because my cash flow was strapped. And I had all this inventory sitting there at my place that had no room for it. And I was like, this is insanity. I got to streamline this. So I launched a closed cart saying, you can get in now, and then you will not be able to get in for the rest of the year. This was July. And
Okay.
so that urgency and scarcity and FOMO created a mass sign up. I had to get more product for that month and the next month and all the things, but it doubled my subscription in a week. And
Dang.
then I ran a wait list. So when I closed that cart, I just put a wait list up saying we're sold out. Sign up on the wait list. You'll be first to know. The next month, when I had 10 or 15 cancellations, I emailed the wait list. They were gone in an hour. And I did that every month until I could catch up to that growth. Now I'm packing 700 boxes. Now I'm monogramming 700 things every month. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I just do to myself? And I needed to catch up to that growth. So I didn't open anymore for the rest of that year. just so I could get some systems and processes in place, catch up to that growth, and figure out when I wanted to grow again. Because now I was feeling every cancellation with the next person that had been waiting for months at some of them. And so it was a great place to be. And then in that next year, I started to run launches to grow, and I would grow by 200 or 300 at a time. We were managing that. Okay, now we have 300 more. What does that look like for packing? What does that look like for fulfillment? What does that look like for shipping? And then, okay, we've got this all figured out for these 3 months. Let's grow 300 more. And so that just worked for me because I had created that scarcity and not just being open and available all the time where you could come and go as you pleased. It was like, if you canceled, you may not get back in for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bold offer. And I like
Mhm.
that you took the chance and did it in July versus being like, oh, I'll wait a couple more months and I'll do it Q4, because that's not as bold. It's like
Right.
you cannot get in for 6 months. And man, people want it in. So they
People
showed
wanted in.
up.
And
Yeah.
my goal for that was I had 60 extra boxes. And to me at that time, 60 extra boxes of extra pieces of 5 things that went in that box was a lot of cash for me. There was a lot of space taken up that I didn't have. That was stressful for me at that
Mm.
time. And so my goal was, could I fill these 60 spots? That was what I was trying to do. And then I was like, I got to get more product now.
How like exhilarating. I bet that was a lot of emotions actually. Like there's a lot of things that are going on there, but what a cool story. And it works because it is so smart. And so I want to know, like, because you built this from the ground up, what are some of the key challenges that you faced early on?
So it was logistics. And I think when you don't know, like I didn't know what I needed to do, when you don't know that stuff, this is the time, even as a solo entrepreneur, that you have to hire help. I had to hire help to figure out logistically how this would work. How is this going to work on the website? How is it going to work with the payment processor? I'd never dealt with any of that before. And me trying to figure that out was just didn't make sense. I don't have
Mhm.
the skill in that area. So I needed to hire help. And so that was the first thing that I did. And then the second thing that was really challenging, I told you that I was struggling to grow online. Like I couldn't go anywhere without seeing someone in my shirts in this town. I would go to Walgreens and I would kind of put my head down because I could see somebody down the aisle wearing my shirt or having one of the bags that was in the last box. Or I'd go out to eat and I'd see 2 or 3 people wearing one of my shirts from the box. And hi, and I'm such an introvert. Like it was just weird to me. And I thought, I'm not going to grow. There's nobody else in this town that could wear the same shirt. Like we all have the same shirts. So if I'm going to grow, I have to get out of this tri state area that I live in and really grow. But I was struggling because one to one, I just told you I'm an introvert. One to one, great.
Right.
Me showing up on camera was a nightmare for me. But I knew that the reason people came back and shopped with me was because I built relationships with them. They would come in for the first time. I would say, hi, my name is Sarah. I would ask them questions. If they had kids with them, I'd ask them their kids' names and I would just get to know them. And then I would see them frequently. I'm the one at the register. Like I did all the jobs. I'm the one talking to you. And so a lot of my orders were custom, and that gave me an opportunity to ask questions and have personal conversations with them. But I had to figure out how to reenact that online. And they weren't coming in my door. They weren't face to face. So how was I going to be able to build relationships the way I had online? And that's when I just sucked it up and started going live. And I started going live every week and nobody was there. And it was awful and it was painful and I overthought everything and I hated the way I looked on camera and I just kept doing it and I kept doing it and I kept doing it because I saw it in other businesses. I'm like, they're live, they're live, they're all these people are commenting. I gotta break through this. I gotta keep going. And I'll never forget like the first time I was live and there was someone on the live that I didn't know. I'm like, new person. And then I would get a subscriber from a different state. And then I would get a subscriber from Utah. And then I would see 3 or 4 more subscribers from that same town in Utah. So that
Oh,
subscriber, people were asking where she got things. And so I would see these little pockets of subscribers, and that started to grow. And that would give me the motivation to keep showing up. And then there were like 5 people live, and then I had 20 people live. And I'll never forget one Saturday morning I was live and the little ticker said there was 100 people live with me. And I got so flustered. I said, "Thank you for watching. Bye." And I just got I got off and I was like, I don't know why I did that, but I got freaked out. And so,
Oh,
and now like I'm live on stage in front of thousands of people. I do my podcast, like I've written a book that's so different. But in that stage of my business, it was very uncomfortable for me. And I
yeah.
had to get over that. But I had to build relationships with online people the same way that I had been building relationships in my brick and mortar, because that's why I had a cult like following. And so that's why I have thousands of subscribers and I only have 30,000 followers. So this is something that I tell people too. Like I have friends that have hundreds of thousands of followers and I make multi-million dollars with my lower following because of the connections that I build with people. And
Yep.
that is free.
Yep.
That is free. That doesn't cost you money. It just costs you time. And if you're willing to invest the time, you're going to see an ROI on that very quickly.
Dang, it's so good. I'm really glad that you called that out on the follower count because I think that people get really caught up in that they
Yes.
compare themselves to bigger brands or the person down the street or the influencer that they want to be like. And it really does not matter as far as how many people you have following you. It's really about that connection.
Yes.
And and that trust, which you build. And that's where live streaming and podcasting and things like that allow us to build that trust. I'm also really glad that you touched on the fact that you didn't like being on camera and you didn't
No.
like all the things because a lot we talk about that a lot on the show and I hear it over all these years working with retailers. It is one of the biggest discomforts. But there is hope on the other side and it
Yes.
is just a matter of like doing it and doing it and doing it.
It's that consistency. And
Yeah.
then, at this point, I can flip on a camera any time of day and talk about anything. And it's cool, but it was literally debilitating to me when I started it. But I knew if I wanted this business to grow, that's what I had to do. And I just kept telling myself that no matter how hard it was, like we're entrepreneurs, like everything we do is hard. Okay. Let's just acknowledge that it's hard. So why did I expect this to be easy? I don't know, but it was something that I had to get really uncomfortable, really comfortable being uncomfortable. But once I started to just, okay, every Friday morning. And then I couldn't talk myself out of it. I couldn't make a million excuses of why I couldn't go because I knew every Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I had to go live and I would just get it done first from the day and then I would be fine. If I did it in the evening, I would fret about it all day long. So I would just get it done and move on, get it done and move on. And I just kept telling myself that I would do that. And it got easier and it got better and I got more polished and I wasn't as awkward and I didn't say weird things all the time. Like, I was like, oh, I got to delete that. I just said something weird. I say weird stuff all the time and I'm just rolling with it at this point
Yes,
because that's what makes us relatable. I was so
exactly.
worried about being perfect and polished that I wouldn't say y'all. And
Oh,
I was like, my audience is from the South. They wear monograms.
yeah.
Why wouldn't I say y'all? Like, and it was just one of those things that I had to learn and get over and keep pushing through.
Totally. And feel that comfort in being you, even though it didn't feel comfortable originally. But that is, to your point, what people connect with. And it is
Yeah.
that relatability. So it's so important. And you're such a great example. I talk about being 15-mile famous. If our retailers focus on just being 15-mile famous, right? Everyone in the town is wearing your shirt everywhere you go then you can start branching out. Like you understand how to connect and what gets them to buy and what they love. And you've kind of nailed that to where you can start growing outwards. I think sometimes we try to make it big versus focusing locally because a lot of our listeners are local, just like you got started. And to that point, like obviously, I think this is just such a good option for brick and mortar. Obviously, not everybody's going to do it, but I do think we have some listeners that should really
Yeah.
consider launching it. What would you say to somebody who's a listener? They have a physical storefront and they're like, maybe this is something for me.
I mean, I think that it's doable for any industry, like any niche, whatever you sell, we can put that in a subscription. And what it changed for me was that reoccurring revenue was hitting my bank account on the first of every single month. And I'll never forget that second month when those payments hit. And I thought, I didn't have to show up and sell something today because, my motto back then was like, the rent is due every day. I got to sell something today. I got to get people in my store. I've got to do something. I got to hustle. I got to promote something. I got to show something. I got to go live, whatever that is. But you know what? I didn't have to do that as much because I hustled to sell it one time. And right now, my average, I have a 95% retention rate on my subscription.
Nice.
And on average, my subscriber stays for 18 months. So you think
Beautiful.
about getting one person to make 18 purchases with you. That's a little challenging, but all I had to do was sell it one time and it just kept coming. And then I would sell again and it would compound and it would compound. And now 75% of my monthly sales comes from my subscription box. And when you think about 75% of your monthly sales, you being able to count on that month after month after month, it eases so much stress. What
Yep.
happens if you get sick? What happens if you want to go on vacation? What happens when COVID shows up and shuts your brick and mortar down for 45 days?
Yeah.
I still had those reoccurring payments and I didn't have to show up and sell in April of 2020 when everybody was, losing their lives. I didn't have to be like, hey, buy this cute graphic tee because I had reoccurring revenue. Now, the rest of that year, we saw everything pick up. But in that moment, when everything was so uncertain and so scary, I didn't have to sell. My stuff was already sold. I didn't have to worry about my inventory. It's already sold in those boxes. And when you can think about having 75% of your monthly revenue stable, it's a game changer. I was able to hire more. I was able to get a bigger building. I'm able to work less because I'm not behind the machines anymore. And all those things just really fell in place that probably would have taken me a very long time, just the brick and mortar selling the one off things.
Man, that peace of mind, which I just feel like our retailers don't have. It
They
is
don't.
the rat race. It is how can I drive people in today? They're dealing with so many external things that they don't have control over. And so, if we really look at the things that we can control, this is a really good option that I hope some of our listeners really do explore and reach out to you because you are going to be the best place for them to learn. I would love to know what some of the most critical factors are that you would say when we're launching these subscription boxes to really establish this long-term success.
Yeah. I think that brick and mortar stores have such an advantage here because they already have product, they already have sales, they already have data. So one of the things that I talk about is what are your best selling categories in your shop? That's where you need to start with your subscription. What are people repeat buying? So what are they coming back for? What are they buying, over and over again? And then also the other critical thing is what can you make scalable? Okay. So when we start, we think, okay, I had a big goal of having 100 subscribers. That was my big goal. That was going to pay my rent and my one employee. And I thought if I could just get 100 subscribers, it's going to handle my fixed expenses. And then everything that comes in the store is going to be gravy. So I wasn't thinking about making it scalable, right? So now I'm customizing every single box. And I know that's why people love my subscription box, but it's still a beast. So can you make it scalable? So you have the data. And the other thing, the piece of data that I used was what was my average order value? That's what I made the price of my subscription box. So when someone came into the shop, what was the average order value? Now that's the price of my box because I know people will spend that. So we have this data already about our business. And so I took my top 3 categories, which were graphic tees, purses and totes, and drinkware and accessories was basically. And so every box is built around those top categories, and I'll slide something fun in here and there. But I know that's what people love because it's my best sellers. And so that's where I started. I made it the average order value of my shop. And that's kind of where we have that data. It's not a guessing game. We know what
Exactly.
people love to buy from us. So that's the most critical information there, but make it scalable. Even if you think it's not going to scale, make it scalable.
Yeah, the setup for success at the get-go is so important. I can see that. And such, you're so right. They have all this data, they have this information, like they can get started way easier than somebody who doesn't have any of these things in place. Now, we love examples and case studies here at Rooted in Retail. And so, do you have a story around your subscription box or a student that could help some of our retailers maybe help a common pitfall? Like, did you see something happen or something happen to you? Will you share
Oh,
with us?
I'm like a poster child of doing things wrong and figuring it out. But so early on, I'm growing and I really want to make this thing the best thing that it can be, right? I'm really proud of it. It's like my baby. And so I just am like, oh, I'm going to put one more thing in. Oh, I'm going to put one more thing in. Oh, this it's just a couple dollars cost. I'm going to add this to the subscription box. And at the end of the year, I was just like, I've made almost, several, like $500,000 on this dang subscription box. But I got no money in my bank account. I'm like, I don't understand. And so I started to pull back the cost of everything, and I'm basically doing it for free. I was putting too much in it and not sticking with a budget and not keeping my eye on the profit margin because I was so focused on creating an experience, creating this thing with all the things, and they were going to see the value. But people don't see the value in all the things.
Right.
So if I give you 8 things, and you're using 3 of them and 5 of them sit there for the next month and you don't use them, there's no value in those 5 things. So, what if I scaled back the amount I'm giving you to make sure you can consume it? And those things are actually higher quality because all the budget's going into those fewer things. And that's one of the pitfalls. I see it with my students. I always tell them, you're not doing this for free. We're doing this to make money. And that was just something that I wasn't great at the numbers. I wasn't great at the analytics in the beginning because I didn't understand how crucial they were. If I had money in the bank account, that felt good to me, like
Right.
I was fine. But I really wasn't understanding how this one more thing and this one more thing was actually taking away a ton of profit for me that made this thing really profitable.
That's a really good lesson that we can learn from your experience. I think obviously the financial pitfalls is often what puts businesses out of business. We're not paying attention. It's so critical in the beginning. And I can see how it would be so fun to give more, to
Yes.
surprise and delight, but you can also really overwhelm people
Yes.
too. So that's a really good thing for our listeners to know about. And I would love to know before we go into our resilience round, there definitely are more subscription boxes now than 10 years ago. And even when you got started. And so, is there a couple of ideas you have or tips for really helping retailers stand out and kind of creative, unique, get people to buy from them?
A lot of times we're programmed to think we have to go broad so we can reach the most amount of people, but we really need to go niche. We really need to niche down into something very specific for a specific person. And when you do that, that's where we see the most success with my students. They go very specific into one type of person. This box is for moms. What kind of moms? This box is for toddler moms. This box is for teenage moms. This box for work at home moms. This box is for whatever. And so when we think about just making a box of self-care, you're going to be washed out.
Totally.
And so that's what I want you to think about. Our most successful students are niched down into very specific ideal customers. And that's really important.
Super smart. And man, my brain is going nuts over the 2 subscription ideas I have. I'm like, should I start this soon? Like, 'cause I am so inspired by this. Oh my goodness. Okay, Sarah, are you ready for the resilience round?
I'm ready. Let me get settled here. I feel like
Okay.
I'm on a game show right now. Let's go.
Okay. Here we
Okay.
go. Best
Okay.
business book.
Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Aside from my own book, that would be the one.
And
Yes.
the title of your book?
My book is called One Box at a Time.
Love it. I can't wait to read it. Cannot wait. Best retail technology, like an app or software.
I'm going to say Shopify because I love that it allows you to have brick and mortar, connect with your online store. It also allows you to have subscriptions with their apps. There's so many apps that you can do whatever you want with. Shopify is 100% my pick.
Awesome. How do you keep up with the ever changing retail landscape?
I think that you have to pivot fast and don't wait. You can't be the last adopter. You have to be an early adopter.
So agree. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's a marketing foundational best practice?
You got to serve your audience before you sell to them. So no matter what you sell, whether that's clothing and trendy things like me, you have to serve them. And I do that in a way of like showing you how to pair outfits together, showing you how to match things together, showing you what accessories look good with things. So you have to find a way to serve your audience and not just sell, sell, sell.
So good. I couldn't agree more. I love that. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
You probably already heard me say this. I don't know that I would monogram everything, although I do think it makes me different. But yeah, I feel like I always think about how much easier life would be if I wasn't customizing every box every month.
Yeah, I bet that is a
Yeah.
lot of work. Finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think that we have to be hybrid. So I think if you're sitting there right now and you're only online, you might need to be in person. I think if you're sitting there right now only, brick and mortar and you're not online, you're not going to do well. I think we have to be hybrid. We have to meet people where they're at, whether that's them wanting to come in and physically touch things or if that's them wanting to lay in bed at the middle of the night and order a gift for someone. Like we have to be hybrid in 2024. If you're not hybrid, you're behind. And I think there's time to catch up, but we can't keep waiting to see. Like we already know. So it's time to be hybrid.
Well said. Sarah, how can people learn more and connect with you?
Well, you can find me at launchyourbox.com. All the things are over there. And you can also, I have a podcast called the Launch Your Box Podcast. And on the socials, I'm How to Start a Subscription Box.
Awesome. We will link to everything as well. Sarah, thank you. This was such an insightful, valuable conversation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Awesome. Everyone, remember that I'm rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Okay, I have exciting news to share. The Rooted in Retail Mastermind is launching this January. It's your chance to connect deeper with me, the retail pros from the show, and an incredible community of resilient retailers, both online and in person, with several meetups throughout the year. Get on the waitlist at rootedinretail.com/waitlist. And don't just listen to the show, be a part of the magic and grow your store with us. I hope to see you there.